This video will cover logging into the Kodiak Gen5 analyzer, the capture dashboard, and the open trace dashboard. To log into the Kodiak system, the front LCD has the IP address for whichever network port you have your cable plugged into. Default login is admin, Kodiak admin. Login information is given in the software user manual. You will be brought to the home dashboard when you log in for the first time. Information about the system is shown as far as serial number, host name, the aliases, what network port you have plugged in, and what firmware version you're on. If you have your interposer plugged in and powered, you will also see information on what type of interposer and the cable statuses and verify that all the cables are plugged in. You'll have NVMe or NVMe, the media information showing you all the NVMe data. We have two variations of the Kodiak, one that comes with 2 terabytes of data and one that comes with 4 terabytes of data. 1 terabyte or two 1 terabyte NVMe drives or two 2 terabyte NVMe drives are available. You also have your recording status and the buffers, and then any of your link status LEDs will be shown here as well, similar to what is shown on the LCD panel. You also have any of your recent open traces that were open from your storage. On the left, you have your navigation bar. Below the home dashboard, you have your capture dashboard. Here's where you will lock the analyzer, capture your trace, and then also configure your trace settings and any of your link settings. In the top left on the wrench icon is where you configure your capture settings. You open it up, you have your NVMe configuration where you either use no archive, a saved archive from the archive storage on your analyzer, which is typically a boot up trace from a device. You also have hardware archive, which is only available in our by4 or in our dual port modes. You can choose to capture SM bus and then filter out any NACs or a specific SM bus address. You have pre-filters to filter out any sideband or data channels that you wish not to capture in trace. And then you have your recording settings, your stop mode. You can change it from manual, which is where you manually control your stop and your start. Stop when full, it will fill up whatever buffer size you have and then stop the recording then, or you can stop on a trigger. You can also enable you can enable strong compression, which will filter out any of your skip or EIOS sets that occur unchanging throughout the trace. And then you can change your buffer size from 0 all the way up to 72 gigs per channel, 36 gigs per channel whenever you are in dual port mode. Your trigger position determines how much information is recorded pre and post trigger. 100%, essentially all information is recorded pre trigger, and then once it triggers, you stop. You can also configure your link. By default, it is set to follow hardware and auto negotiate speed and width. If you need to enable Swish, you can create a new one, give it a name and a description, change any of your link settings as desired. Same with your down and your upstream, and then you have your enable Swish options here. You must hold the lock in order to change the settings. So that is one thing you have to do. Once you've configured your settings and you're happy with them, you have a lock. You can click record, start recording. You'll begin recording a trace, capture what you need, and then either depending on if you're using manual or trigger mode, stop the recording here. Once it has triggered, the trigger icon will be highlighted. If you have the auto open trace button selected or checkbox selected, once you stop recording your trace, the trace will automatically start opening. If you do not, you click down to your trace dashboard here and open up your live trace. I'm going to use the saved SK trace from my storage here. Your default layout for your storage dashboard We'll have your events, transactions, NVMe transactions, details, config space, memory space, histogram, LTSSM, statistics, data, trace info, and bookmarks widgets. In the top left, you have additional trace information that shows you, similar to the trace information widget, shows you information on the trace as far as path, what analyzer it was captured on, when the trace was captured, who captured it, what firmware version it was captured on, the FPGA versions, and then any license and any sideband information, your link, and then your capture settings as well are shown. If there are any bookmarks created in the trace or any X's and O's set, we show those in the bookmarks button here and in the bookmarks widget here on the bottom right. If there is a trigger in the trace, there is a jump to or go to trigger button up here at the top. The manage archive allows you to save, change your archive, apply an archive from a file if you have one saved off on your local PC, post-process the archive if needed, and then restore back to your original archive that was saved with the trace. It shows you information on the device, when the hardware archive, and when the hardware archive was taken, what device it was taken on, some information about it, the config space, controller registers, if it's an NVMe or PCIe device, and then any of your missing completion queues, bar space, etc., or bar size, etc. To save the trace, you can choose your range. Default is start to end. If you clear it out, you get options to choose your bookmarks or your X's and O's. Give your trace a name before clicking on the file path folder. Once you click on the file path, select the folder you like to save it in or a drive you like to save it in. You can create new folders on the drives and then hit select and save trace. You can change the format that you were looking at, the time format that you were looking at the trace. So by default is an absolute, showing from beginning to end of trace, essentially 0 to end timestamp. Relative timestamps, if there is an origin set in the trace, let's go down here, set the origin, and it'll automatically change it to relative, and you'll see all the delta timestamps from the origin before and after. We have a little negative symbol to show the ones before. Delta shows a difference between each transaction, so from one to the next, a delta timestamp. And then ticks are how our API sees the transactions go across the bus. If you're using our by 16, you can post-process the config and NVMe information space. We have a direct download trace file and then a copy link to trace, so that you can copy a direct link to this trace, send it to a colleague, and if they have network access to the analyzer, they can immediately jump to it and view the trace that you were looking at. Any running task will be shown in this window here. And then we have your layout manager in the top right, which is the same for your home, capture, and your open trace dashboard. All of those in the top right have your layout manager to customize your layout to best suit your workflow. You can copy the default, reset the default, create a new one from scratch, and then once you're happy with your layouts, or if you don't like it, you just want to delete it, you have a delete button. You can export or import any. Export is mainly used to export them for use on either the Plus Expert app, which is our standalone application, or on another analyzer that you have. Another big feature with our trace dashboard and viewing our traces is all of our widgets. So each of these widgets are customizable and movable to different windows, and you can customize this view that best suits your needs. To add a new widget, click on the plus button that is beside the last widget in the tab, and you will be shown a list of all available widgets that we have. Double click on the one that you would like to open, and that widget is now permanently put in that tab, similar to how you would have in your web browser. Each of these widgets that we have, I will be covering in a specific video. They will be shown at the end in a slide, so look forward to those, and thank you.